In the early 1960s, a 630-foot tall monument in St. Louis, Missouri, was built to pay tribute to all who paved a way to new beginnings in the westward expansion of the United States. That came to be known as the Gateway Arch, and 5 miles east, just across the Mississippi, lies another gateway, only this one has come to be known as Worldwide Technology Raceway. A city that celebrates new beginnings and expansion is a great host for the season opener in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, and that's exactly the event that brings us here tonight. We're about to find out who holds the keys to success as the drivers begin yet another season. Best of all, you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Up in the box, bringing you the action tonight is going to be Adam Lindgren, being joined up by yours truly, Nick Schmeg. Sean Ambrose has taken his lawn chair to the top of the arch with a pair of binoculars directing us for this evening, and as always, he'll be using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, the drivers in the PRL are facing all kinds of new challenges as a new season begins, and that's not even considering the fact that we're at a significantly unique track. Why don't you tell us a little more about where we are for this?
Definitely, Nick. It may be another season and another intermediate track for the PRL truckers, but this place isn't like any other. Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, a 1.25 mile or 2 kilometer true oval. Located just east of St. Louis across the state line into Madison, Illinois, this track is a very strange track to drive. Turns 1 and 2 are 11 degrees of banking, and the track widens as the turn continues, opening to an extremely wide back straight, which is great for passing. Turns 3 and 4, however, are at a 9-degree bank, so basically nothing, and the track narrows onto the front stretch. You can get good runs down both straights, but blocking is very easy to do on the front straight into 1 and 2. With the low banking relative to other tracks of this size around each corner, tire wear will be at a premium, meaning new tires every yellow and drivers struggling for grip on the longer green flag runs. Because of the fairly wide track in the turns, it pays to be aggressive early, move your competition, and make up track position while the tires are fresh. But with the new truck regulations just dropping for this build, these drivers will be struggling with many unknowns as they take to the track tonight, ensuring some great battles and unexpected stories over the next hour. So let's sit back, relax, and watch a ride around Gateway in our GSRC lap guide.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Brian Yazek in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado at Gateway Motorsports Park. A very, very unique 1.25 mile oval. So without further ado, let's show you how to get around this joint. Down the front stretch, you're going to be braking very, very hard here into turn 1 and let it find the bottom here. And you're going to really try to dive in the middle of it, but try to get the big run off, because that's going to be crucial to either setting up a pass, going into turn 3, or just trying to pull an advantage. Pretty much anything that you would need to do. Turn 3, big, wide, open, and inviting. Let the truck roll through the middle, half back into the gas, and then finally about full throttle right there where the rumble strips stop, and then start again. Now Gateway does allow for a little bit of mobility in the corners here. 1 and 2, you might see guys run really high up here into the corner and try to get that straight run right off of the corner. Again, trying to set up a pass, trying to pull away, trying to do anything you can to pull an advantage. Back down into turn 3, same situation. We'll hit the brakes, let it roll. Don't dare touch the gas until about the halfway mark. Let it roll, back into the gas, full throttle off of the corner. Gateway can really be summed up in one way. It's kind of like a shrunken Darlington out there on the NASCAR circuit. So, with that being said, this was your guide to Gateway Motorsports Park. I'm Brian Yazek in the GSRC Chevrolet Silverado.
And that lap guide, as well as this entire broadcast, is being brought to you once again by our awesome season-long sponsor. Joining us once again, Established Traffic Control. Founded in 2005, Established Traffic Control is a leader in traffic control and traffic safety in the state of Pennsylvania through maintaining great relationships and providing exceptional customer service. In addition to being able to provide all you need for traffic safety, ETC makes custom signs from street signs to company logos and everything in between. These custom signs make great gifts and wall decor. You have a design, ETC can make it. Shipping is available as well. For more information, visit establishedtraffic.com or email Brendan Chatley at bchatley@establishedtraffic.com. Adam, you've just taken note, actually, that we have a lot of drivers tonight. We have a lot of new drivers, and surely with a lot of new drivers, we're going to have a lot of new viewers. Why don't you go over the race details for us?
Definitely, Nick. We got 80 laps around Gateway for this first opener here at PRL. And that's 100 miles around this track. Our max incidents are going to be 17x only, so that's very limited. And they don't get a refresher truck. They don't get a new truck to hop into if they wreck. We're looking at the Silverado, the brand new truck Silverado, and the Tundra for this year with the new truck regulations as well. So that's going to be very interesting going into this race. 85% fuel means at least one pit stop for these guys, so they're going to have to be super careful when they go into this race. All right, so Nick, we got some points that happened last season. Let's take a look at those, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an exciting season to catch last year. If you were here for it, definitely go back and watch it if you haven't been able to yet, because last year wrapped up with a 3-point difference, and you can see Holly used all his drop points as well to get there in the last week. 4 wins on the year for Bradley Holly. He comes in this year as your reigning champ and probably one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to go 2 in a row. William Hartman, another one up there. He only had 1 win last year, but his consistency kept him in the hunt all season long. Rob Haynes and Colton Lane also in the hunt for most of the season. They're going to finish 3rd and 4th, and Brendan Chatley had 1 win last year in his Toyota Tundra. For Forever Cupless Racing, he finishes in 5th place, but a great top 5 finish for him in the points last year, and also it helped him in the teams championships, which we've also got the points for.
Yeah, definitely. The team's championship was just as much of a nail biter as the drivers' championship, and in fact, it was closer overall, with Texas Racing with Bradley Holly and Austin Hunter taking the lead in that first position. Then we had Savage Drive with William Hartman and Ray Richer down there, just 8 points behind, and that really did come down to the last race. Forever Couples Racing only 19th points behind with Rob Haynes and Brendan Chatley. We saw Chatley on the bottom 5 of that leaderboard in the last session. And then we got Back Row Racing with Colton Lane and Thomas Sink, 37 points behind, and Car Ramrod with Nicholas Delp and Charles Sumner, 49 points behind, finishing out those team championships.
That was great last year, and adding more drivers only going to make it even tougher for everyone to fight for both the Drivers' Championship and the Teams' Championship this year. Qualifying has just begun. We've got some new faces this year, and a lot of old ones. We're taking a look there at the 3 truck. That's Braden Johnson.
Yeah, Braden, a new driver from the Western Division, and it'll be interesting to see how these new drivers go. We haven't interacted with many of these drivers on GSRC, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do in the trucks, especially on this really challenging track like Gateway.
And the Global SimRacing Channel also proud to broadcast the PRL Cup Series this season on Sunday nights. A lot of drivers coming over from that as well. We're seeing huge fields in both of those, so pretty awesome crossover between the two. Saw a very exciting race there at Michigan on Sunday.
All right,
Johnson.
Our first couple laps coming in now. We got Braden Johnson up there on the pole position provisionally, with Jake Houndshell coming in second now. As these laps start to wind down, we'll see whether or not the first or the second lap for these guys is the better lap for their qualifying times.
Bradley Holly going to come in 0.03 of a second slower than Johnson on his first lap.
Bradley Holly coming off of a strong season last season. It'll be interesting to see whether he can. I mean, Braden Johnson is the big surprise with him taking the provisional pole right now, but here comes Bradley Holly off of turn 4. Let's see whether he can take the pole.
Holly not able to take the pole, but Thomas Sink able to. He gets a very fast lap in. First one in the 31s.
Got some new drivers up there at the top as well, with Jason Jacoby and Andrew Melvin as well. I think we saw Melvin for one race last year. Then we have Jean-Francois Champagne in 10th position. And yeah, just a bunch of new names in this series, and it looks like some good drivers up there that are joining us for this season.
J.R. Smith had a really strong run going for him on Sunday night at Michigan. He's going to find the wall here momentarily. So that'll disqualify him from that lap, disallow that time. Taking a look at Nicholas Hunter.
Another new face up at the top, Joshua Daniels, who has just gone into the second position in the catbird seat there. And he is just, about 2 100ths behind. So, yeah, as we're watching Nicholas Hunter go around the track now, these new guys definitely strong.
Yeah, Josh Daniels, a familiar face from the other PRL series we have, like the GTE series. Awesome to see him here on the oval side of things. Gateway kind of drives like a road course, wouldn't you say, Adam, compared to a lot of other ovals?
Definitely. It's hard to manage your tires around this track, it really feels like a flat track when you're racing around it, but really managing your tires and managing wheel spin off. We're seeing a lot of truck drivers, just like Dominic Magine, getting extremely loose coming out of 4, and that's going to be the tail of the tape tonight.
Absolutely. I've kind of always compared Gateway to Pocono Raceway. It's only, obviously it's shaped differently. Gateway's not a triangle, but it has different unique turns. You have to drive it completely different. It's very hard to get into a rhythm. Riding on board with Basaw Jr. here.
Yeah, rhythm is very difficult around this track, especially because your tires go away super quickly, so then you're just hanging on for dear life. But if you can save up some tire life, you can make some significant track position during any long green flag runs we might have tonight. But with 37 trucks in the field, green flag runs are going to be few and far to come by, I think.
Mike Richter making his laps as well. He's going to find the wall as well. Man, it feels like we're at Darlington out here.
Yeah,
everyone finding the stripe.
Yeah, just tire traction really being a struggle here. As we watch Jeffrey Smith, he's going to see whether or not he can take himself further up the field now. He's crossing the line, and I believe he's starting a lap. Well, that's going to end qualifying, so he didn't have a chance to put in a time. Let's take a look down the grid.
On the front row, it's going to be Thomas Sink in the 48 machine. Josh Daniels going to be alongside of him. Row 2, it's going to be Braden Johnson, a newcomer in the 3 machine, and the reigning champ Bradley Holly in the 184. Jason Jacoby, good to see him here tonight. He's going to be starting in the top 5. Definitely a force to be reckoned with. Andrew Melvin going to be starting alongside of him in 6th. Brendan Chatley and Jake Hounshell will be making up row 4, and Colin Carroll and William Hartman, row 5.
Row 6 is going to start with Jason Hounshell, another late addition at the end of last season. Jean-Francois Champagne is going to start alongside him, along with Colton Lane and Mike Richter right behind him. Austin Hunter starts alongside Dominic Magine, with Mitchell Clark starting us alongside John LaBath, and Charles Sumner and Jeffrey Ford round out your top 20.
Ray Richer and Adam Zemke, 2 names from last year. They're going to be in row number 11 back there outside the top 20. 23rd and 24th go to Eric Roberts and Robert Malikian. Robert McFarland in the number 1 truck going to be starting 25th alongside Gregory Dice. The second in the 52nd, Nicholas Hunter, Ronald McManus going to be 27th and 28th respectively. 29th goes to Mike Donahue and Jeffrey Smith in the 96. The last truck to set a qualifying time going to be rolling off P30.
And in the trucks that have not set a qualifying time, we have J.R. Smith starting in the back, a big surprise, alongside Ron Haynes, another big surprise. Joshua Thomas Nelson in 33rd on row 17 alongside Sean Dower. Robert Bassett Jr., a lot of regulars not putting times in tonight. Robert Bassett starting in 35th position alongside Kevin Fetty in 36th, Scott Metcalf in 37th, and Brian Brogan 38th, going to round out our field.
We had 31 drivers in total last season start at least one race. We have 38 starting tonight. Quite the contrast from last season. A lot of these drivers not used to these big fields. A lot of them like to thrive in them, especially some of the newcomers. It's going to be interesting to see how that mixes.
Definitely, especially with the championship really going for some extremely good prizes this year. The champion of this series is going to get a custom side made by our series sponsor, Established Traffic Control, and the driver with the least incidents over the course of the season gets iRacing credits or their fee for the next season waived at the end of this series.
Very cool deal. Awesome to see all these sponsors come along and help support the Precision Racing League and all these drivers and fans as well that we've got watching. We love to have you here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. All 38 trucks working the backstretch right now following that Ford Mustang pace car. Only one pace lap here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. In the real world, you can see the Gateway Arch from the distance, just beyond the front stretch. These drivers going to be focused on looking for victory lane. Thomas Sink going to lead him to green as the pace car pulls off. The summer season of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is underway as they come into the restart box. Thomas Sink is on the loud pedal. Alongside of him, Josh Daniels in the 07 machine tries to get it going. The 48 going to clear him easily as they storm down into turn number 1.
Bradley Holly on the outside getting a really good run. He's going to be able to pull forward there as he starts to pull up on, wow, really good passes being made up front there in those first 3 positions. They might be 3 wide as they go into 3 and 4.
Bradley Holly started outside row 2. He wants to be on top of the pole here as they come around turns 3 and 4. He's going to lead lap number 1 if he can continue to hold off Thomas Sink. A phenomenal opening lap for the 184 and the reigning champ as the caution has just come out.
And it is J.R. Smith who has hit the wall like on the front stretch. He's hit the wall bad. Got some significant damage there. We're going to go take a look at that replay.
It was a tough start for him to not be able to get a qualifying time in. He's found even more trouble. All bunched up here, 3 and 4. Bit of a domino effect. We'll take a look from above. It might give us a better vantage point of what happened here.
It looks like he was just getting into 3 and 4. He's right there behind the 20 car. And he's trying to make that outside line work, and he just gets bottled up and just gets a little bit of contact on that left rear, and that spins him around and causes a chain reaction wreck.
Yeah, that was Rob Haynes, the 29, actually. And he has just lost his motor, it looks like, also involved in that wreck. So a couple of big names from last year suffering early. Haynes now limping down pit road.
Brian Brogan looks like he also has some engine damage. The 45 truck in 35th position right now on track, and he's smoking a lot right now, and he's going to have to come to the pits for sure before the start of this next caution.
So, after that cycles through, it doesn't look like any of the front runners have taken to the pits. Bradley Holly, what a fantastic start that was for him. Goes from 4th to 1st. Thomas Sink falls back to 2nd. Daniels slots back to 3rd. Jason Jacoby has made his way up onto the 2nd row, and Braden Johnson fell from 3rd back to 5th.
Yeah, and with Bradley Holly, if there was any question that he was going to be able to adapt to these new regulations in the trucks and this new track for at least this series, I don't think there's any question right now. The moves that he was making right there at the beginning, especially through 1 and 2, were extremely impressive, and it shows that he has an understanding of how these cars drive, the body roll of these trucks. It really is solidifying his excellence here, as he looks like he's going to start this next green flag run.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be looking to pull away. I was wondering if starting 4th place gave us any indication that he was going to be struggling this season, which is pretty crazy to think starting 4th and might give an indication that you're struggling out of 38 trucks, but he has just proven that theory wrong immediately. Wasted no time here at Gateway. However, we also know now that if that's possible in 1 lap for Bradley Holly, we might see that back in the middle of the pack with a couple of drivers. Passing very possible here, just difficult. difficult track to get around in general as the pace lights have come off.
Yeah, and it looks like J.R. Smith has retired from the race after being involved in that last accident. Not a happy driver at all. Unfortunately, we don't get to talk to him at the end of this race, but Brian Brogan is also in the pits repairing his engine, and Sean Dower is also in the pits as well. So we're going to start this next restart with 33 trucks.
J.R. Smith, the only other driver besides Bradley Holly to win multiple times last season. He ran a part-time schedule, and when he did run, he showed his speed. Tonight, not the case after getting involved in some early trouble. We'll see who else can stay out of that attrition. Hopefully these front runners can. They're showing a lot of strength right now, flexing all the muscles. Bradley Holly looking to flex more. Wants to open up a gap over Thomas Sink, who this time is going to be starting from the outside. Pace car pulling off. Lap number 6. Holly flirting with the throttle. He goes for it. Sink's going to be able to follow him. They gap row 2 easily.
Definitely, that's interesting to see. Jason Jacoby with a really good run on that outside line. Pulls right ahead of Joshua Daniels with Andrew Melvin pulling in behind him. They are pretty much line of breadth. They're line of stern, actually, all the way back to the 2 teammates, it believes. I believe that's Colin Carroll and Mike Richter.
Carroll on the bottom in the 12 machine. Richter on the outside. Richter now has Jason Houndshell coming up to the inside. That's Lime Green truck, the 00.
Looks like it's a much cleaner restart than the actual start of the race, but the 58 looks like he gets extremely high. He's stuck on the high side right now. The 59, actually, that's Brendan Chadley stuck on the high side. He's getting freight trained now by William Hartman.
Hartman goes underneath 3 and 4, a lot wider turns than turns 1 and 2. You can kind of float your truck in there. Hartman's still down low. The car in front of the truck in front of him, Jean-Francois Champagne in the 36. He's riding in 8th as Atlee goes to the outside. We ride on board with Champagne, looking back.
Hartman braking very, very early for 1 and 2. Interesting because he had the high line. He had the line that usually is able to carry more speed into the corner, but I guess he just didn't feel comfortable with Brendan Chatley being right behind him, so that kind of backed up the pack. And as we look back, we've got Mike Richter with Jason Houndshell still looking inside, but Houndshell not able to make a move.
Battle going on for second place. Jason Jacoby has caught Thomas Sink. He's been working him. Trying to find enough room to get around him as the caution back out. I'm going to see who this one is.
Robert McFarland in the 1 truck.
It is. It's in turns 1 and 2 with Robert McFarland all by himself, it looks like. Take a look at this once again. Driver racing out of the Carolinas club. Let's jump back a little bit further for you there.
Looks like he just gets into the corner a little hot. His brake bias not quite set properly for the longer run. And his rear end just kind of comes around on him here as he's trying to whoa up because of the car ahead of him. The truck ahead of him, rather. And he gets on the grass and then decides to hit the gas a little early, and that just spins his rear tires, and he spins back out onto the track.
You think that's a case of aggressive downshifting there, Adam? It might be in turns 1 and 2. A lot of drivers sometimes do that here.
Yeah, and you got to be super careful when you aggressively downshift in any NASCAR sanctioned vehicle because of the way that the gearing works and the fact that they don't have synchros. You got to be really careful in making sure that you don't get those trucks or those cars wheel hopping. So you have to make sure you match your revs as perfectly as possible as we have a lot of drivers in the pits right now.
Looks like from about 17th on back, for the most part, coming into the pits.
Austin Hunter was the one to lead them in, followed by Charles Sumner, Ray Richer, Adam Zemke, Eric Roberts, Robert Malikian, Robert McFarland. We've seen a lot of these drivers in the past be the ones who make alternate pit strategies like this and get their way to the front. So this might not be a bad play for them.
Austin Hunter leads them out. Pretty much the exact same way they came in. Eric Roberts had a good stop there as well, it looks like.
Yeah, no big surprises there on those pit stops for sure. And with William Hartman, oh wow, I didn't realize I had to scroll my standings. We have so many trucks in this series, it's great. Sorry, Bradley Holly out there in the lead. Now is the guy's time to get new tires and really get an advantage here. We're gonna see I think everything's gonna be a little bit more packed up than it was on the last restart, just because of these drivers in the back with new tires.
I've also noticed on our two starts so far, the start of the race and the restart we just had, the outside lane, especially in row 2, looks really strong. I honestly didn't expect to see that.
Yeah, you can carry a lot of speed into 1 and 2 with that outside line, just due to the fact that these trucks don't quite have the grunt that the leading NASCAR Monster Energy cars have, rather. And so it allows them to really carry a lot of speed through 1 and 2. It's 3 and 4 where being on the outside gets extremely dangerous, especially the farther we go into the run. I can also report that we have also lost Sean Dower from the race. Brian Brogan is trying to get his truck repaired, trying to get that engine up to a good speed. So he has been in the pits quite a bit, and Jeffrey Smith has been in the pits for about 2 minutes, so I believe his competitive day is done as well.
"100 miles is the scheduled distance for this race. Working lap number 13 now as they come across the line. Pace lights are going to go off. So they'll be taking the green flag with 87 to go.
We haven't seen a lot of big movers in this race so far, but Gregory Dice in the 19th position right now. He has moved up 7 positions, and right behind him, Robert Basaw Jr., he has improved 15 positions from his starting position of 35th, so he is quite a ways up from where he started. And so some guys are making progress, but at the front, it's pretty much pro quo right now.
The top 20 trucks on track have not pitted yet, so that's where the fresh tires begin, right about at the halfway mark. Austin Hunter, the first truck on fresh tires. But will we see that come into much effect here early in the run? Will we have a long green flag run here for the first time in this race? We're about to find out. Bradley Holly leads the cascade of trucks through 3 and 4. Trying to flirt with the throttle once again. He gets on the loud pedal. Green flag is out at Gateway. Not able to clear Thomas Sink this time yet. He had to take a bit of a shallow approach there that time into turn number 1. Jason Jacoby for third, trying to hold off Josh Daniels. He just slots up in front of him.
And a bit further back, we've got the battle for P7 between William Hartman and Jake Hounshell. Jake Hounshell really holding up the field behind him as we're watching the battle there. Taking a look at Jake Hounshell, he's really having trouble holding onto that truck. Something to do with the tire temperatures probably, but he's backing up the field behind him.
That next truck behind him, Jean-Francois Champagne. He's been moving up through the field pretty steadily so far. Might have a pass for 4th here. Josh Daniels getting overtaken.
We have a wreck.
Melvin.
An accident. Austin Hunter has wrecked.
This is at the exit of turn 2. He's on the outside here. That was Gregory Dice behind him and Mitchell Clark to the inside, but it looks like he started to go around by himself. Very similar to what we just saw in the last yellow.
Just taking a look on board with him. I believe that this is going to be a shifting issue.
This might be the reverse. This might be an upshift here, Hunter. Unless it was a late downshift, trying to gain those RPMs.
Some of these truck drivers are really having trouble with how tight this setup is. I didn't really mention at the beginning of the race, but this is a fixed setup series, so these drivers aren't necessarily driving a setup that they are used to or that they particularly like. They have to adapt to a setup that's been given to them. That's one of the awesome things about the PRL Truck Series, is that it really brings out the best drivers because they have to adapt to setups that aren't necessarily their preference. So this might just be an issue of not being used to the setup per se, and especially with the new regulations, all these drivers are coming in here pretty cold. So I don't necessarily put that on Austin Hunter as a big mistake necessarily. It might have just gotten more than he could handle in that moment.
Yeah, it looked like a bit of a snap loose, so I don't think that was actually a downshift. Now that I'm looking back at that. Gregory Dice in the 57 truck, he was the other big injury there from that wreck. Big front end damage on the front of that machine.
We have some more pit takers just to get extra fuel in that truck. As we said, fuel is 85%, so there's definitely going to be one stop necessary. I don't think they can make it from here, but it's worth a shot. We have Mitchell Clark, Robert Bassett Jr., Austin Hunter, Robert Malicki, and Gregory Dice are the ones who are still with no damage, well, mostly no damage, who took the pit stop there.
The only big change up front in the top 5 or 6, Andrew Melvin was just a bumper ahead of Josh Daniels when that came out. He rides in 4th, Daniels back in 5th. Jacoby was able to hold them both off while that battle was going on. He's still in 3rd.
And taking a look at who's gained and who's lost positions here. Yeah, Bradley Hawley up 3 positions from his starting position with a really good move there. William Hartman now, that last restart was the first good one for him. He moved up 3 positions just in that restart. Jean-Francois Champagne now up 3 positions as well. And some of the big losers, we got Brendan Chatley down 3. Not that big of a loss, but still not what you want to see considering track position is a big deal around this track.
Drivers turning the engines off here under caution. That is some super serious fuel conservation. Enough cautions, 85% fuel, it's worth a shot.
I mean, that's a long way to go. I mean, I know Gateway's not that long of a track, but that's some... You got to be anticipating that this is going to be a timed race, and based upon my calculations, we're approaching that point, but we're not quite there yet. We're going to have another 2-3 cautions before that comes into play. So these guys who are fuel saving, hoping for a timed race and that they can get out of this without taking a pit stop, I mean, that's a pretty big risk, especially with tires being as much of a premium as they are around this track.
We want to welcome all of the viewers coming over from Jason Jacoby's stream. He's running 3rd right now. He's hoping to give you guys a great show. Also a great vantage point. Coming up on lap number 20, working 25% of the way through this race. Let's see if we get a couple of green flag laps here and here. Bradley Hawley, I think, would sure like that. He looks pretty strong on these restarts. Thomas Sink, though, he's been getting even better trying to predict what that 184 is doing. Pace car is in. He's going. Green flag back out here at Gateway. Across the line, Hawley sliding up into the top lane as soon as possible, diving it back down into turn 1. Jacoby real close to the back of Sink.
Yeah, big battles going on behind them as well as, again, Jake Hounshell kind of holding up everybody. We're going to go on board with Daniels right now as he tries to pursue those top four. He's having a challenge, though, right behind him as it looks like, I believe that's Braden Johnson starting to pick up the pace. But right behind them, Brendan Chatley really struggling with pace right now.
Brendan Chatley and Jake Hounshell side by side. And this is a bit of a hornet's nest back here because they've got Colin Carroll, Francois Champagne, Colton Lane, a lot of truckers involved in this little gaggle right here. How about Jean-Francois Champagne pushing Brendan Chatley down the backstretch?
Yeah, everyone's having a rough time right now as they try and get these old tires warmed up, whereas the first drivers who have taken tires, they're up to P19 right now, and Ray Richards actually the first one in P17 back there in the back.
Oh, trouble
behind
Jason Hounshell in the 00. Down into turn one, made contact with Jean-Francois Champagne. And the caution flag flies once again. We'll take another look at this. It was Hounshell on the outside, Champagne on the inside.
Interesting accident. It looks like Hounshell was braking earlier than Champagne was anticipating and turned down and cut Champagne's line off, and Champagne was just not expecting him to come down at that moment.
Right on board with Champagne. I saw Hounshell's point of view. He didn't touch anyone else, just got up into the outside wall. Champagne, though, this is a big save for him despite accumulating a bit of left rear damage.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of damage for both trucks, I believe. And definitely the worse off is Jason Hounshell, but this was not an accident that you really want to see happening. I think that's just something to do with getting new drivers in this series. You know, the guys aren't really used to racing with each other, so they don't know what they're going to do yet. And so some of that has to do with just understanding and kind of living with these drivers from week to week.
Looks like Champagne has a little bit of right front damage, a little bit of left rear damage, but yeah, you called it. Hounshell a lot more from that. Definitely the closest wreck to the front we've seen all night.
Speaking of to the front, Ray Richer, our first truck with new tires from that stop they had about 13 laps ago, he is up to P15 in this caution. So these front runners with their fuel saving, they're going to have to watch out as these drivers with new tires start to claw their way to the front.
Thomas Sink still riding second behind Bradley Holly. I'm interested to see. I've seen on these restarts 2 or 3 laps in, Jason Jacoby gets a nice run on Sink and Holly up front, but that's about when the caution comes out. I'm wondering if we have some of these truckers up here like Jacoby and like Sink that have long run speed here instead of short run speed. Holly seems to be awfully good on the short run.
Yeah, Jacoby is a very fast trucker. I can tell just based upon how he drives the truck. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he can do if we get a longer run here. And I'm definitely looking forward to that because it's always good to see new participants in the series really take it to the dominant champions like Bradley Holly. Most of the pit stop takers in this particular caution were guys who are trying to get some damage repaired. So no one else has come in for additional fuel or tires. So we're going to start with the top 15, or the top 14 rather, having not pitted yet. And then Ray Richer alone in 15th, Jeffrey Ford right behind him, who has also not pitted. And then everyone's pitted behind him from Eric Roberts all the way down to our last current running driver, Gregory Rice, in the 31st position.
And all these cautions have also allowed for some free passes. 31 trucks, it looks like, still on the lead lap. after starting with 38. That's a bigger field than you'll see in the real world NASCAR Truck Series.
You know, one driver we've been seeing have some trouble on these restarts is Brendan Chatley. He's been struggling with getting his tires back up to temperature, and it's something that is really difficult to do in iRacing, considering the temperature ceiling for the tires is really quite low. So if you heat those tires up too much, then you lose a ton of grip, but if you don't heat them up enough, it's basically like driving a hockey puck into 1 and 2. And so he's trying to be careful and make sure he warms them up at a good pace that makes sure that he has good long run speed. But we haven't had any long runs, so he just gets eaten up in the pack on these restarts a little bit.
We'll see how he fares here. It's going to be interesting. We might get a long run, might get another short run. Lots of action. That is for sure. That much is guaranteed to us. It's going to be Holly and Sink. Leading us to green once again. The green flag back in the air. Great start for Jacoby on the inside of row 2 as well. He's going to clear Melvin, but they're side by side for the lead. Looks like Bradley Holly going to give him a run down to the inside.
Oh, and almost contact there between teammates Braden Johnson and I believe that was Joshua Daniels ahead of him. I don't actually believe they're teammates. They just have red and black. But wow, Braden Johnson diving down to the bottom side. He's going to try and take Joshua Daniels into 3 and 4.
Johnson down to the bottom. That's William Hartman behind him as well. Hartman stays to the inside.
I don't know if Hartman's going to be able to get him here. He's going to really have to dive it in, but he chooses not to, and he stays right behind there. But we actually still, Jason Jacoby really putting pressure on Thomas Sink there, going down the backstretch. He might look inside this time.
He is indeed down into turn number 3, Jacoby. Almost gave him a bump draft down the backstretch. Down onto the curbs, onto the rumble strips. Sink giving him the room. That's Andrew Melvin behind him by about a truck length.
I'm just going to get the run out of 3 and 4. That's just due to the difference in banking between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So he's going to try it again here. He's going to have to get a better run off of 1 and 2. It looks like he's got just that, but he can't keep it down. He's got to stay behind Thomas Sink for another lap.
Jacoby decides it's too early to use the chrome horn here. He backs off just a little bit in 1 and 2. Dives it back down deep in 3 and 4, though. Sink going to hold him off, but what kind of run is Jacoby going to get off of 4?
If he can make something with this, if he can try and dive it down, I mean, discretion is the better part of valor. He's not going to do it here, but he's really got to find a way past. He can't move him necessarily. It's too early in the season for that. But as these tires go away, as we can see, he's having a harder and harder time getting good runs there through 1 and 2.
Jacoby working really hard. We ride on board with him here. Great shot of how close he's going to get here to Thomas Sink and tuck up right underneath him through 1 and 2. Here he comes, and right there gives him the look.
This is some pretty good racing there for the top seat, but I think we might have an accident. Ray Richards gone around, I believe.
The caution has flown. It does look like Ray Richard. Oh, this is a big one, actually. Yeah, Ray Richard, the first truck involved in this. Multiple trucks gonna be caught up in this, though. This is an odd incident from Ray Richard. He's on the outside here. It looks like it snaps on him straight into the outside wall.
Yeah, classic overcorrection there. It'll be interesting trying to get it on board and see.
That truck right behind him in the 95 is Jeffrey Ford.
Yes, this was a downshift incident. Another downshifting incident there. Jeffrey Ford just nowhere to go. Yeah, Ray Richards just downshifting from 4th to 3rd. And rear tires spin up and it goes around.
Nicholas Hunter and Mike Donahue also involved in that. A fifth truck involved, Scott Metcalf in the 19 truck. After that, might have been a little bit of domino effect damage, but nothing directly in the wreck.
And we have some developments on pit road. Jason Jacoby and Andrew Melvin have stayed out, and everybody else is in the pits.
The regulars from last season lead them down. That's Holly and Sink. They might be a little bit more familiar with this 85% fuel limit.
This is probably the fuel stop. This is the one that's going to definitely get them to the end of the race, especially considering that it's likely to be timed this time. So this makes it interesting for Jason Jacoby. He's got to fend them off. I mean, it's going to be really tough. I mean, like with all these cautions, there is a good chance he could make it to the end. But with the tires, I don't know how that's going to work. Now we have a spotter hanging out with us, and it's John Ambrose, and he's giving us some really good information. He has taken a look at the 36 of Jean-Francois Champagne at that last caution and accident. He took tires, and he's saying that they only have yielded him about 2 100ths per lap. So that's not that much of a time gain. So it's possible that Jason Jacoby has the right strategy here.
Riding on board with Jacoby. Another interesting stat coming up there from the spotter stands. The calculator smoke is really grinding. Not too many more caution flag laps would put us in a situation where someone like Jacoby or Andrew Melvin, if they've been saving so far under yellow, which we believe they have, we've heard the engine go off, they could make it the full distance. And also looks like we might have a timed race here as well. 55-minute time limit on these PRL races.
Our leader Jason Jacoby shutting off the engine as well. He knows how to save fuel, and coming from the spotter stand, it's going to be probably, including this caution, 1, maybe 2 more cautions before Jason could make it all the way to the end. And we've seen how strong the leaders are on the restarts, so this might be a good strategy for him for sure.
He's definitely flipping the light switch in the cockpit right now. Doing a lot of work under yellow as well as under green flag conditions. A little bit of a shake-up there after we had the pits. So quickly, it looks like the pace lights are out, but we'll give you a little bit of a rundown here. Jacoby, Melvin, and Hunter, your top 3. Robert Basal Jr. from 35th on the grid has gone up to 4th. Mitchell Clark will round out the top 5. Bradley Holly, though, Adam, is right back there in 6th.
Yeah, an interesting development, and he's the first of these recent pitters. And we have Thomas Sink, Braden Johnson, Joshua Daniels, and William Hartman still not able to move that much. He rounds out our top 10.
Looks like we're down underneath 25 minutes remaining in this race, so it doesn't look like we'll be able to get all 80 laps in, but we'll keep you updated on that. These drivers running until the virtual storm hits here in the Midwest. Saw that a couple times last season. Hopefully it's not a tornado. A new face up front, Jason Jacoby. Gonna lead us to green this time. Andrew Melvin in 2nd. Watch for those trucks with newer tires. Bradley Holly being the first of them back in 6th. Pace car ducking in line. Lap 36 is what Jacoby will lead us to. The green flag is out once again here at Gateway.
Jacoby held them for quite a long time, but look at that move that he was able to make, really stretching out up front. Bradley Holly has dove down to the bottom. He's already passed the truck. He's already up to 4th position and is challenging Austin Hunter for 3rd. And he's going to make it past him too.
Holly just passed Hunter and Basal as if they were sitting still in a parking lot. Now Basal underneath Braden Johnson there. Big stack of Hartman and Thomas Sink right behind him. Lots of side-by-side, lots of drivers getting boxed in here.
not what Jason Jacoby wanted to see at all. He wanted to make sure Bradley Holly was stuck up behind trucks there, just like William Hartman is right now, stuck up behind Braden Johnson. But Braden going to the outside, that's going to give Hartman a good run off the corner.
Yellow flag is out. This is Joshua Daniels in the 07. Josh Daniels and Colton Lane down the front stretch, diving into turn number 1. Not sure what this was all about.
Yeah, that seemed a little interesting for sure.
Let's look from behind here. Daniels really far down the track. Lane was taking a look.
Yeah, I don't know if I would take that low percentage move if I was Colton Lane in that situation. Kind of got away with it, but Joshua Daniels is signaling that he's definitely going to, take the line away from you into the corner. And at that moment, this early on in the season, this early on in the race, realistically, that's a move where you just, back off, go to the high line, and get a better line into the corner, see if you can get him down the backstretch.
Drivers always remember, especially on oval racing, how others raced you. The good thing, though, for these drivers, at least if you find yourself in trouble with someone else, is with a bigger 38 truck field this year, it's going to be harder to find each other. Everyone looks to be staying out, at least all of our front runners staying out. Jason Jacoby and Andrew Melvin still 1-2. But Bradley Holly quickly moved back up into P number 3.
Yeah, definitely. Bradley Holly, some really good moves there on the restart. He's quite good at getting these restarts down and making sure he gets a good jump. Jason Jacoby really, he really held up that restart, waiting all the way on to about halfway down the front stretch before he went. Really impressive jump from him at the start to make sure not spin the tire.
We're going to step aside here from the action for just 1 sec under yellow. We'll bring you back for the green flag, but don't go anywhere here on the Global SimRacing Channel. You're watching the season opener of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series here at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, Madison, Illinois. Just over the halfway of the scheduled distance, but we've got a timed event, so drivers not quite sure how long they're going to have to be racing for. They're going to have to be on their game 24/7. Interesting situation as we head into turn number 3 here. About to take the green flag. Jacoby and Melvin on old tires. They are your leaders. Bradley Holly there in third. He's looking awfully strong with 4 decently fresh Goodyears underneath them. Pace car pulling off. The green flag just about to wave. Jacoby's going to get on it. We're back racing at Gateway.
Yeah, good start from everybody at the front. The 911 truck didn't get away so well in the back of the field, but take a look at Jacoby really taking off into the sunset. Bradley Holly having to hold it down there on the bottom line, trying to hold off Andrew Melvin, keep him from really hanging on to that second spot as they go onto the backstrip.
Melvin's going to have the momentum, but for how long? Holly dives down into 3 pretty nicely. Creeping up there. He's creeping up. Side by side down the front stretch.
Really good exit there.
Holly's got the position.
Watch Melvin see if he really takes that momentum on the high side, if he can hang on to it. I don't believe he can. Bradley Holly's going to have the run here coming off of one and two, but Andrew Melvin's going to come back at him, but he's got the outside for the wrong corner. I don't know if he'll be able to hold him off.
Side by side for almost 2 complete laps here, 2.5 miles at Gateway. Finally, Holly's going to get the position. He now sets his sights on Jason Jacoby for the lead. We're side by side for 7th place as well.
Jacoby's worst nightmare has been realized, but we're going to take a look at this battle for 7th now between Austin Hunter and Colin Carroll. Colin Carroll really taking it on the inside there, putting Austin Hunter out high.
Behind him. We got a big wreck behind him. This is Robert Bassaw Jr.
And Eric Roberts as well.
Yeah. Bassaw Jr. got contact from Brendan Chatley.
A lot of regulars caught up in this.
Little left rear quarter panel action in turn 1. Bassaw Jr. getting a little nudge to the outside, and they all kind of piled in there. Mike Richter, Eric Roberts, Dominic Bagine, John LaBaff, all getting scooped up in this one.
A lot of our series regulars were held up behind Colton Lane. Just a really rough time. We're going to go on board with John LaBaff here and watch him and see how he tried to maneuver this wreck.
Yeah, it's a tough situation there for someone like the 911 truck. Having a good, quiet run, nowhere to go.
Yeah, and the truck that Robert Bassaw Jr. was really trying to blow up for was Jay Cownshell, and he's been going slow into the corners all night, and that's something you just got to understand as a driver behind. You just got to realize that he's going to go slow into that corner. Robert Bassaw Jr. was trying to slot in behind him down the low side there, and I think he would have been better off just staying up high, but that's something that you learn as you race with a driver. You start to understand where they break. You start to understand where they're strong, and that's how you can really make time on the guys ahead of you and really have a good, clean race. And with this being the first round of the season, not holding it against anybody that they're having trouble really understanding where each person's going and where their strengths are.
So what did that little green flag run do to the front runners? Jason Jacoby continues to lead. Bradley Holly's moved into second, and that's going to be awfully interesting because the outside lane's been good. Holly's been good, but so is Jacoby from the inside.
Yeah, so it's really interesting with all these yellows. I'm not sure, but I think Jacoby might be good on fuel. We're checking right now.
And it looks like we have 12 minutes left, approximately, of racing. If we got going back green, that would be just over 20 laps if it was completely green. The calculator crew working hard behind the scenes. The Ambrose brothers are up on the Gateway Arch in their lawn chairs together.
So while we're waiting for those calculations to be made and see how long this yellow flag stint is, I'm gonna give a shout out to the guys who have had some trouble this race and are no longer with us out on track. That's going to be from 31st position, Jeffrey Ford, Nicholas Hunter. He's still racing, but he's 15 minutes in the pits at this point. Ray Richer, Jeffrey Smith, Rob Haynes, Sean Dower, J.R. Smith, and Joshua Thomas Nelson. Correction, Rob Haynes is still on track. He took, oh wow, quite a bit in the pits, about half an hour, so he's got quite a bit of damage and still has damage to repair, but he's trying to make the best of it and get as many points as he can.
Hearing now as well that Jacoby is very tight on fuel. Under caution laps would only need about this caution lap and maybe a little bit of another one. I'd also like to publicly announce that I've come up with a new nickname for the Ambrose brothers. The Ambrose.
Ow.
Yeah. I'm gonna use that now. I can promise our viewers to stick with us. We've got less awful puns and more great on-track action because the pace lights are out. We're in turn 3 and actually make that turn 4. On the front row, it's Jacoby and Holly, the two dominant trucks of this race. How much more racing do we have left? None of us really know. Green flag coming back out in the air. Jacoby gets a good launch. So does Holly on the outside. Is Jacoby going to be able to clear him? We'll find out as they head down into 1.
Jacoby does clear him, and he's going to pull into 1 and 2 ahead of Bradley Holly. But Bradley Holly's been really strong on the bottom. Jacoby's got to block it. There's a wreck behind them. It's William Hartman who got turned around.
Everyone's still piling in. This is the big one. Hartman gets a tag from Thomas Sink here. We'll take a look at the replay. This is a big one. Oh boy.
Yeah, this accident, just not what you want at all. It looks like Thomas Sink was just tight in the center of the corner and could not get it turned down and just went straight up into William Hartman. And that's just tough racing right there for sure.
Colin Carroll, Colton Lane, Brendan Chatley. They were involved in that as well. And then at the exit of turn 2, Austin Hunter got clipped by Thomas Sink, both of them trying to avoid the wreck. Tough break for them right as the caution was out. They thought they had it through. Austin Hunter here. Really tough break for him. Definitely the short end of the stick. Heavy contact as well.
Yeah, he got turned when Sink came back down the track after hitting Hartman. And Sink was just trying to save it. It's not that he was trying to block anybody else off, but you know, it's just unfortunate when you get collected in those wrecks for sure.
7 minutes and change remain here at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway.
I can confirm Jason Jacoby should be good on fuel if he's been doing proper fuel saving here. So if he can hold off Bradley Holly, which is no small feat, he could have this win.
Adam, I'm not sure if we've seen anyone do this yet in the PRL Truck Series. I don't think we've seen anyone make it to the flag on no stops.
But at the same time, I don't believe we've seen this many caution laps
True.
in a race like this. So this kind of a feat, this is taking a huge gamble for Jacoby, but if you're this far up front with Gateway, you haven't seen it tonight. But Gateway is a track that is known for where track position is really important, because as the green flag laps go on, you lose your tires quite quickly. So Jacoby's got the right idea with staying out as much as he can to keep that track position. But the trouble is, Bradley Holly behind him has fresher tires, and we're talking about 31 lap fresher tires. So Bradley Holly, on top of being a very good racer, he's got better tires and he's got a little bit more fuel in the tank, so he doesn't have to conserve as much. He's the truck to beat right now, unfortunately, for Jason Jacoby.
Exactly. Jacoby, a strong strategy coming into this race, but it might bite him here at the end. Not only, I mean, honestly, I think it would be hold off pretty much anyone here on that set of tires that Holly has, but it's Bradley Holly that he's got to hold off as well. 4-time winner from last season, and that's out of the 9 races he ran, so almost 50% winning in the series from last season, and he came away with the championship as well. So coming in here with a lot of momentum on top of all that.
It reminds me of a John Wood racing, a Wood Brothers racing car at Daytona just about 10 years ago.
Holly also, if you want to stretch it that far, going for 2 straight wins. He won the season finale last year at Lucas Oil Raceway, another small track in the Midwest.
And
a little bit different than Gateway, but...
And his championship rival, William Hartman, involved in that last wreck, so not off to a good start. If Bradley Holly wants to repeat his championship success, talk about a good way to do that.
We'll keep an eye up front here as we take the green flag. They make their way around turn 3 and 4 here in a moment. How aggressive are they going to be racing here? I mean, it's round 1. You want to start your season off on a good foot. It's a points battle, by the way. I mean, it's not like a win and you're in scenario. It's 10 races. Most points at the end of the season win the championship. Jacoby and Holly lead him to the green. Jacoby gets on the throttle quickly. The green flag's back out. Lap number 54. He has a great start. What kind of run is Holly going to have down into turn number 1? They side by side behind him.
Jason Jacoby really waited for Bradley Holly to pull up a little bit too far, and he had to back out, and then Jason Jacoby just took off, and so he's got the advantage here. But wow, look at Braden Johnson going underneath Bradley Holly for second place.
A name that totally flew over our heads, but also has fresh tires. Braden Johnson going for the pass around Bradley Holly. It would be quite the feat if he could do that. Jacoby streaking down to the inside here on the front stretch.
Does he know who he's challenging?
I don't know.
Does he care?
I don't think he does. He's going for it. Look at this great run from Holly, though, on the backstretch. Down to the bottom. Has the line.
He doesn't quite have it, but Jason Jacoby's going to give him room anyway. No use cutting a competitor off this early in the season, but that's most likely going to be the end of his championship, his race contention at least. But he's going to try and get a good draft here, but he's trapped up top because of Braden Johnson.
Jacoby's going to try to hold on here to second. He's got Braden Johnson behind him. We're thinking roughly 6 laps to go, but we'll keep you updated. Exit of turn 2, very tight between Johnson and Jacoby. Looks like Holly might be streaking away. What can the 3 truck do to the 31? The 31 not giving up this lead yet. He dove in deep down into turn number 3.
He's got 31 lap older tires. He's going to have a real hard time making that work as he wears his tires away. Bradley Holly just has to hit his marks straight and consistent, whereas Jason Jacoby's really got to work hard to get up there. He's got to hope Holly makes a mistake.
Riding on board with Bradley Holly, looking back from that deck lid. Spewing all that dirty air back there. He's loving the clean air up front. The 3 of Johnson goes to the inside of turn number 3. He slides up a little bit into Jacoby. No contact. They keep it clean.
side by side, but Jason Jacoby's going to have some pretty decent banking here in 1 and 2 if he really wants to hang on to this position. It looks like he does. He dives it in deep, but he's going to stay up in that middle line, blocking Braden Johnson from getting an outside run.
Tight off of 2 once again. That next truck in line is Andrew Melvin in the 88. He also has old tires, just like Jacoby, but he's holding on to P4 for now. Jacoby onto the rumble strips a little bit in 3 and 4. That's not going to help his momentum. Johnson coming up right behind him.
Johnson didn't get the best run off of 3 and 4, but he's still looking on. If he can set him up through 1 and 2 here and get a good exit, looks like he's trying to do that right now. He might have a good opportunity, but he's going to go around the outside instead of Jason Jacoby, forcing Jacoby out of the throttle, and he's going to streak right by.
Is Jason Jacoby good on fuel as well to hold on to this podium position? He's looking for the second step of that podium right now, trying to get back underneath Braden Johnson. Now he's got to hold off Andrew Melvin behind him.
Jason Jacoby and Andrew Melvin, the 2 trucks in this entire race who have not taken a stop for tires or fuel, and fuel is the operative thing right now. Can either of these drivers make it to the end?
Lap and a half left for Bradley Holly. The white flag is going to be waving this time by for the 184, the reigning champ. He won the season closer last year. Jacoby under attack for 3rd.
Jacoby's tires are gone. His tires are gone.
And it is looking like the race has actually ended that time by. If I'm looking at this, I believe it has. I believe Bradley Holly is going to be your winner at the season opener in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, leaving off or picking back up right where he left off from last season. A phenomenal run tonight for the 184.
And honestly, an amazing run for Jason Jacoby as well, coming in brand new to this series and challenging the likes of Bradley Holly. That is no small feat, and we are going to remember his name for a long time.
Hopefully he sticks around. He gave us a great show, and he had enough fuel to take it back to the pit box as well, as Holly does his donuts on the front stretch here. We're going to be stepping aside for just one moment, but we've got interviews and a long 38 truck driver rundown. When we come back, don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. We're back here in southern Illinois, just across from the Mississippi from St. Louis. We've got 38 truck drivers to run down your order for this evening. It's Bradley Holly who winds up on the top spot of the chart. To no surprise, he takes the win, picking up right where he left off from his championship run last season. Braden Johnson and Jason Jacoby, great runs from both of them. Jacoby especially on the same tank of fuel for this entire race. Andrew Melvin and Colton Lane are going to be rounding out your top 5. Your pole sitter, Thomas Sink, going to wind up in 6th. Mike Richter, Jean-Francois Champagne in 8th. Josh Daniels 9th. Mitchell Clark going to be 10th.
Robert McFarland, the one truck in the 1-1 position. Next is John LaBaff in 12th. Robert Bassad Jr., even after that late wreck, coming home in 13th position, alongside Eric Roberts. Ronald McManus in 15th. Robert Malikian in 16th position, with Scott Metcalf in 17th behind him. Kevin Fetty, a good run for him, up to 18th position. Brendan Shatley, after struggling early, all the way back to 19th, with Adam Zenke rounding out your top 20.
Only 4 more trucks on the lead lap. It begins here outside the top 20. The Canadian Dominic Bajin in 21st. Austin Hunter, 22nd. Charles Sumner and Colin Carroll going to round them out. 1 lap down, Gregory Dice in 25th. 2 laps down, Brian Brogan in 26th. 3 laps down, Mike Donahue in 27th. 28th, 29th, and 30th. Your DNFs begin. Jason and Jake Hounshell, followed by William Hartman in the 67th.
Next DNF is Jeffrey Ford and Nicholas Hunter in the 32nd position. Ray Richer in 33rd. Rob Haynes, after his early accident, 34th position. Jeffrey Smith in 35th position. Sean Dower in 36th position. J.R. Smith, 37th. And Joshua Thomas Nelson did not start.
We've got some driver interviews here. We've caught up with our race winner, Brad. It feels like we were talking to you just a few weeks ago, celebrating a championship.
Yes, sir, and it feels good to be back in victory lane.
We saw you qualify 4th, and at least for me, my first indication was, all right, maybe Brad's going to have some new competition up here with a huge 38 truck driver field. Did you feel that way at all, or were you just focused on getting back to the front?
With how big the field is and all the newcomers, I knew we had some better drivers coming in and some new competition. So I was ready for the entertainment.
Absolutely. Now your call to pit, it seemingly worked. The 4 fresh tires, that give you the win there at the end, or do you think you would have been able to stay out and save fuel there, getting down in the nitty gritty?
Definitely been able to save fuel, but with how tires fell off at this track, I felt like, even if I fell back to 10th, I think I felt confident to get back up to the front and battle for.
Yeah, and then that's exactly what we saw you do, and do it successfully. So finally, I want to ask you, rest of the season, we go to Chicagoland next season, or next week, that is, but looking bigger than that, the rest of the season, are you looking at another championship run here, you think, or just focused on 1 week at a time?
As of right now, 1 week at a time. Later in the season, depending on how things go, since we have a bigger field, it's going to be a lot tougher, and there's going to be probably a little bit more contact this season, just due to the tough nature of everybody else in the PRL this.
Yeah, it's great to see the series grow. Great to have all the drivers here, and we're loving seeing you work your way and navigate your way through the competition. Hopefully we get to talk to you again, but congratulations on your season opening win here tonight.
Thank you very much.
That's your race winner and reigning champ, Bradley Holly, in the 184 machine. A newcomer to the series, Braden Johnson, has caught up with Adam, it looks like.
Yeah, Braden, let us be the most recent to welcome you to the PRL Truck Series. And man, good night for you, coming home in the 2nd position. How'd you pull that one off?
I actually just tried to stay alive, and it paid off. I thought it was a risky call when I pitted around about halfway, but it ended up paying off and allowed me, because Jason was super fast all night and Bradley was super fast, and I figured I needed to take tires somewhere along the line to be able to have a shot to win. But I am perfectly happy with where I finished.
Definitely a really good job from you for sure. And so coming into this series fresh and new, is the level of racing up to what you expected coming into this new series with the PRL trucks?
This was a pretty challenging track, and I think some guys had a rough night tonight, but I'm thinking for the group of guys, hearing them talking about, I think it's going to be a pretty good series, and I'm looking forward to the next race because this is pretty tough to run at Gate.
Speaking of the next race, going into the next round at Chicagoland Speedway, what are your thoughts going into that race? Quite a different setup and a different style of driving at Chicagoland.
Yes, and I'm pretty decent there, and I hope to pull off another good finish. My goal is to just not wreck out any races and get solid points finishes, and if I feel like I got a chance to win, go.
Definitely. Well, considering you are new here and new to the top 3, is there anyone you'd like to thank tonight?
I would like to thank Ford Entertainment Group. He built my PC for me. It was the cheapest around. I couldn't have built it myself for cheaper. I'd like to thank my buddies that raced with me tonight, Jason Jacoby and Andrew Melvin, Jeffrey Ford and Jeffrey Smith, for out there making calls during the race. And I'd like to thank my girlfriend who sat there with me and watched. And I'd like to thank y'all for putting on this broadcast that I'm about to go watch.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Braden, for being out here and racing with us. That was Braden Johnson coming home in the second position. And Nick has caught up with our lead and last round challenging Jason Jacoby.
I have indeed. Jason, a heck of a run there. Great to see you in this series. We love having you here. Obviously, you have a pretty significant YouTube following. We love seeing you bring all of those fans of yours and viewers of yours over to us here in this series. But talk about that race. The call to stay out there at the end. Is that what did it for you?
Nicholas, I really appreciate the kind words. And yes, sir. What happened was I thought that more of us would stay out, but Bradley did an awesome job, man. Bradley and Thomas, who were top 2 for the majority of the race, are who I actually learned from in practice how to get faster here. And so following their line and actually having Bradley bump draft me in practice helped me a lot. And then it was a matter of once I saw that, trying to, how the racers say, you want to find what guys are doing and then try to do it a little better. And I think I was fortunate enough to have good speed, but like you alluded to, I think it was the tires at the end. I just couldn't hold off Bradley, but he definitely made the right call, and he was super fast all night. And we're looking forward to next week at, I think, Chicagoland as well.
Yes,
I have
sir.
no idea.
Yes, sir. Chicagoland. It's great to hear you that you'll be there. We're definitely looking forward to seeing what you can do in this series, as well as everyone else. Great to have a huge field this year, or this season, I should say. You mentioned the tires hurting you there at the end. Were you concerned with fuel at all, or are you pretty good when it comes to saving fuel in a situation like that?
That's the thing is Andrew Melvin, who's my teammate over my sponsor, who I'm going to mention in a second. We want to sell PCs for him, so I'm going to mention him in a second. But yeah, basically the fuel mileage, Andrew, who almost got me for third at the end when I kind of was just throwing it in there to make a little fun and into turn 3 on the last lap. He was running around in third gear under caution and also downshifting in each corner, I do believe. I was running fourth gear the whole time, whether it was under caution or in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I was never downshifting. I had a ton of fuel left. Granted, we ran mostly caution, so that's really what keeps the fuel in the tank. And I had a ton left. We could have gone all 80 laps for sure on that tank. But I would like to congratulate, once again, Bradley on the win, and then Braden, my teammate, for second, Andrew for fourth. And we're here because Jeffrey Ford, who, if you guys are familiar with iRacing but don't have it yet, or you need a new computer to upgrade to, FEGPC.net has the lowest prices guaranteed on brand new gaming computers. Basically, Jeff, who's my sponsor, he does this to help people get in iRacing. He's served hundreds of iRacers, NASCAR drivers, all sorts of disciplines of real-life motorsport. And the reason he sells so much is because he has the lowest prices, because he's in it to help people get in iRacing who know it's like hard to afford it on a budget sometimes. So there's a great race with the guys. And in Chicagoland, I love every track, and that track I think is kind of special for me. Not saying I don't know how well I'll do there. These guys are fast, but I'll look forward to next week too.
Awesome to hear. Awesome to have you here, and a great shout out for your sponsors and all your buddies there as well. They're grateful to have you along with them. We want to give a special thank you to everyone who came out tonight for the opening round in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, especially everyone who helps in the organization and behind the scenes logistics in the Precision Racing League. We also want to thank Established Traffic Control once again for sponsoring tonight's race, and an additional thanks to all the amazing companies that provide the software and hardware that we use to create a GSRC production for you. We also, of course, want to thank the very talented June DeLond, who provides our music. See the screen for more on how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team tonight, Adam, Sean, John, and Dougie. Make sure you check out the GSRC on social media as well. You can do that at our website on globalsimracingchannel.com, on Twitter at GSR Channel, on Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, on Instagram at GSRC_Graham, and of course, on our YouTube channel. You're already here. Scroll down just a touch. Hit that big red subscribe button so you don't miss a second of racing. That's going to do it for the racing tonight here in the Precision Racing League. But don't worry, we've got more action for you coming up on the Global Sim Racing Channel tonight at 10:35 Eastern, round 9. In just a few moments is going to be commencing of the Lionheart IndyCar Series over on the iRacing Esports Network. It's the Thumbs Up, Cancer Down Grand Prix of Mosport, and you're not going to want to miss it. The PRL NASCAR Truck Series will as well be back next Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for round 2 at Chicagoland for some more great action from the Prairie State. Make sure to mark that down on your calendar. Finally, with all that being said, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.